And then I'm pushing the button.
All right.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Jim Eagle coming to you from San Francisco again. And we started back up our interviews of our political candidates for different offices. And tonight we have Dallas Owen, who is running for tribal council from my district, Enemy Swim. I don't know if I told you that, but also in Enemy Swim. Too bad I can't vote because, you know, I'm off red. But we'll talk about that, won't we? So, and again, good evening, everybody. I'm going to try it in Dakota. Let me know if I'm wrong. I'm sure I'll get emails about it. Tanyetu Washte. I hope that's good evening. All right. Let's see. So, Dallas, we of course are continuing with the questions, and they haven't changed. So they're the same questions, and I'm sure he's had a chance to review them. And but if not, we'll get him through it. Don't worry.
We're gonna play off the cuff here.
Yeah.
At work, and so I glanced at him. So yeah. I'm okay with this fresh stuff.
And thank you for doing this, Dallas. Taking time out of your evening to meet with us. We do have 1,400 members in the Offer group on the Facebook page. So and so we're doing pretty good in growth. We got a long way to go. I think there's, what did they say? There was like 8,000 of us or something like that. And so we have a while to go. So if you're listening and you know any Offer people who are not part of our group, please invite them, and we'll get them into the we'll get them in here, and we can start talking about some of the issues that we need to talk about. All right, including voting. All right. So Dallas, here we go with the first question. Oh, before we start with the questions, I'd like you to maybe introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your family and yourself and where you're from. You know, education, experience. Anything you want to talk about?
Oh, okay. Well, as you guys just heard, my name is Dallas Owen. I am 27 years old, running for Enemy Swim Council. I was born in Webster to Kelly O'Reilly and Vincent Owen. And then my grandmother is Betty Ann Owen on my dad's side. And then my great-grandparents on my dad's side are Estelle Chanku and Aubrey Owen. And then on my mom's side, my grandparents are Donna O'Reilly and Mike O'Reilly. And then my great-grandparents are Edward Seaboy and Ruby Seaboy. And I graduated from Wabe High School, went straight to SDSU afterwards, got my degree in history and a minor in American Indian studies. And then I was 2 credits away from a minor in religion, just because somehow that popped up in there. But I was like, okay. And then, so while I attended university, that's kind of where I got the start of an actual political career per se, because they did student government in the halls of SDSU, and so I got to be the representative for Young Hall. And while you're on that board, you got to decide, you know, where does this money on the college get to go? What is it spent on? And who gets a bigger chunk? Where are the dorms most needing it? And which dorms, you know, can, you know, spare a little bit more? And so that was actually really fun. We like that. That was only my freshman and sophomore year, and we spent actually a majority of our time putting money towards Brown Hall, just because for any SDSU people, if you know Brown Hall, you know why more money went there. And so while I was there too, I was the vice president of the psychology club. I don't know how I got involved with psychology with the history degree, but you know, it was just something that came along. And you know, and then I got my degree, I got married, met my beautiful wife, Marissa Owen. And then a year later, we had 2 wonderful twins. I call them my salt and pepper, Cassius and Margot. And they're 2 years old now, and they are a handful. And I've been on the res for 9 months now, or not 9 months, 19 months. And I decided I wanted to put back into the community of where I'm from. And so I moved back, and here I am.
Nice. I did want to ask you, I have cousins that are also Owens, like Crystal Owen, Deb Owen. Are you related to them?
Yeah, Crystal Owen and all of them. I can't remember precisely. I think they're my 5th or 6th cousins.
Okay.
The relation is definitely there.
All right, good. All right, let's go start with the questions here. Let's see. So the first part is a kind of a big issue that we have. About transparency. So what does transparency in tribal government mean to you, and how will you work towards transparency in tribal council if you're elected?
Well, transparency is you lay everything out on the table. I mean, you're there to represent your district. So in my case, Enemy Swim. I want to make sure that my members know everything that's going on. Lay it all on the table. And, if they have issues with something or they want more help understanding something, I will take time out of my day to explain the most minute detail to make sure that they are well informed. And so I really do like the now that they're airing council on air, because then you can go back and double check. And then, because people are people, and sometimes, you might misspeak on something and that might lead to a misunderstanding. And so I'm really happy they went on board with that and everything's on air. And on council, I will make sure that's on air too and be there when people need me.
Nice. All right, great. Yeah, it's all about communication, isn't it?
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Second question. What do you think about council members who vote against their district's motions?
I absolutely think that is a terrible thing to do. Why would you go against the people that help put you there? You're there to represent them. So obviously, if they want something done, you should probably adhere to what they have to say. Now, understand that when you're on council, you have to take your oath. So you have the betterment of the tribe at hand. But the people that put you there, I believe that they should be the ones that should come first and foremost without wrecking, your oath.
Right. And Enemy Swim is kind of a larger one of the districts, isn't it?
Yeah, I wish I could say it was the largest, but when I was talking to Zelma, I believe that one passed us up.
Okay. Let's see now. The third question. Do you know what racism means? Question mark. I don't just mean from other races, but towards our own enrolled members. Why are off-reservation members such a threat? How do you plan on addressing racism within our tribe? That's an interesting question from one of our people in the group, and I didn't realize prior to me doing these interviews, I had no idea that people had an issue with with each other that way. So especially say the more white passing Native people versus the browner, darker complected Native people, that they may have an issue like that. What do you think of that?
I wouldn't exactly call it racism. I think it's more of disenfranchisement because as you may tell, I'm definitely a little lighter skinned. And so in high school, I did get poked fun of a little bit, but nothing, I didn't think about it as racism. I just thought, you got people saying like, oh, I'm almost full blood. And I'm sitting there and I would get called a halfer all the time. And, I would like to think that, we're starting to grow out of that, or we need to start growing out, because, it all starts at the home. When you're in the home, you teach it. And so if you start teaching people, we're all Dakota and we're all family, then eventually that's going to follow through. Now, getting back to that too is I do understand that there is kind of like a tension between off-reservation and on-reservation. Like I said, I'm recently just an on-reservation member, as I lived in Brookings for like the last 9 years. And, coming back, it was a little interesting because you're almost, well, firstly, no one knows who you are. And so everything is just like, who's your mom? Who's your dad? Grandma? Auntie? Who do you got? And so I did go through that. And then the first time I came back, I immediately started going to my district meetings because, that's where you get to meet everybody and you start to hear what's going on. And so that's where you start to be informed. And so I feel like to overcome this disenfranchisement, it starts in the home, and, you just have to have a good heart and carry that good heart with you as you go.
Right. How do we carry that through though to people's homes?
Well, let's see here. I personally feel like if you're going to try carrying that into people's homes, it has to.
Is it education?
Oh, I'm sorry, but you cut out a little bit.
No, I'm sorry. Is it partly education, maybe?
Oh, yeah. That's where I was going to kind of like start. Like, you can work with the schools a little bit. And because a lot of schools do have activities where parents can be involved. And if you start going there, make friends with your neighbor, get to know them, know what's going on, because that's actually what being a tribe is all about. You're supposed to care for each other and help each other. And so when you start sharing that heart and make sure other people understand that there's love between us, then you're going to start building a stronger ties all around.
Nice. All right. Thank you for that. All right. Next question. Would you be willing to accept a stipend for your time instead of a salary? Why or why not?
I would be willing to accept a stipend. And then at the same time, though, I understand why some people will not be. And I'll go into that here. I would definitely do not mind working my current job and attending council if I were to win the election. The Constitution says you're not supposed to work for a tribal entity while you're on council. And I understand the issues of that, because then you can, as I was talking to someone earlier, you can put on your council hat and then possibly intimidate your boss into doing what you want because you're council.
Yeah.
And so I see that side. And then the other side is, I say you work for a non-native company. Are they going to be keen on letting you go whenever there is a council meeting so that you can get away and leave? Or is it going to be detrimental to your current job and potentially you have to worry about caring for your family? So I understand that, and I'd be all for it. And then when it comes to salary, I have no problems taking reduced salary. That's one of the things that I've been saying. I feel like we expect our casino workers roughly at the average $13 an hour to make a living. And then we're sitting here, you got $65,000 and another $10,000 severance package. I think we can make plenty of living, take at least a 10% cut and then maybe a 12% cut on executives. And then we can utilize that excess funds in areas that are needed.
Nice. All right. All right. Next question. Do you support cultural preservation, specifically our Dakota language, history, artifacts, and arts?
I do, because as I mentioned earlier, I got called heifer a lot. And I felt that I didn't really get a chance to really connect with my Dakota side until I was older, and where I actually started asking questions, who are we? And, I want to be proud to be who I am, but at the same time, I need to learn about who I am. And so I actually didn't get a chance to get into that until I was in college. And so preserving that on the tribe, I feel like is absolutely important, especially with language. And then, excuse me. And then we need to try to, how do I say this? You need to invest in it as if you're thinking 7 generations down the road. If you're not thinking 7 generations down the road, then you're bound to lose something along the way. And we need to invest in that, and we need to be smart about it.
Right. Now, the few times that I've been back to the to Sisseton and to the reservation, I noticed there was no museum, and I always thought that was interesting. I thought that every tribe would probably have a museum. It's actually in California here, it's kind of a big thing. A lot of tribes do have their own museum, or there's museums about Native Americans in different parts of the state. So what do you think of that?
I think actually that's a great idea. And, pulling the resources to pull that together, you'll really need to sit down, and you might, especially now during COVID, I understand that budget cuts are an issue, and I realize we'll get down to that down the road. And so just a little snippet there is like, you have to sit down and make sure what can we do with and what can we do without. But yeah, I would actually love a museum, and because, I'm trying to teach my kids now, they're 2 years old, that, you gotta be proud to be Dakota, and a museum will definitely be a way to help that.
Right. All right, great. Next question, here we go. What do you think of allowing voting by mail-in ballot for all tribal members? Kind of a national kind of thing too, isn't it?
I was going to say, I think that's everyone's question.
Right.
Well, I personally have no qualms with it, because I would have done that while I was in university. But ultimately, as I said this earlier, while I was on the judicial committee, is I feel like the districts need to decide, because those are the people that are at the basis of our democracy. And I know it's real. And that's where it kind of gets into something a little janky too, because I feel like the districts need to start opening up, like what we got going on. You can do Zoom meetings for our district, and you can try your best to include them in the quorum and try to mash out some details like that so that everyone can participate in the district meeting. And with everyone participating in the district meeting, then you can really decide, where those changes can happen. That was the biggest issue that I had. I was like, I know I can convince my district to allow off reservation boating, but I need to talk to them first because it's all about communication.
Nice. Well, it's good to hear that. Yeah, excellent. Next question: Is it reported? It is reported. Sorry, that our grocery store has been losing money since it opened. The tribe has invested millions. What is your opinion on Dakota Crossings? If we were to close it, what could we use the building for, or the resources? What else would we do?
I honestly do not believe that the Dakota Crossing is losing as much money as it has been. Granted, it may have spent a lot of money, but I feel like when I was listening to that council meeting, that I can't remember his name specifically, but he mentioned that at the time that the Dakota Crossing was not in debt and had 30 grand in the bank as of May. And then that wasn't including the fourth quarter. And so without counting the fourth quarter, you really don't know how much the store has lost or gained for that matter and for the whole year. And ultimately, I feel like this is going back to sovereignty. I feel like having our own food distribution and being able to have our own store, it's food sovereignty. And I feel like you can't put a price on sovereignty.
Nice. So in other words, you're kind of for it then. You're for continuing the operation of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, granted, I understand that the store went through multiple people running it, and so everything whenever something new comes about, you always have to tie up the previous loose ends. And I understand that some things get lost along the way. So granted, the store is not perfect, but it's not going to be dying anytime soon. I feel like if anything, it's going to be flourishing soon, and we just got to continue giving it that love and support. And it's a business. I feel like as council, let a business do as it is, and if it's bound to, if it's going to flourish, then it will flourish. If it will fail, then it will fail.
All right, great. All right. What ideas do you have for economic development?
Well, I got a little bit here. That's actually one of the things that I am campaigning on is economic development. First and foremost, I would like to see us getting involved into government contracts, whether that be military, state, and or just federal contracts in general, because we have to utilize our Indian preference. If the government is willing to put those in those documents, why aren't we jumping at that? That could be hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars of revenue that we can look at. And even if we don't exactly have the capabilities of like running on a contract ourselves, we can still subcontract that out and still be the leads, and we can still get decent amount of money, just subcontracting everything out. So that was number one. And then the next idea that I've been talking about is, we have a ton of land. We have people that are getting it pretty much dirt cheap by the acre. I feel like we can look at our rent revenues and see what we can do there. 1 second, please.
Sure.
And then on top of looking at the rent revenue, I feel like we also could start utilizing our local farmers. I mean, we've been dealing with these people for years, and I feel like we can negotiate some type of agreement where the farmer, farming is a lot of hard work. There is no doubts about that. And if we're not able to farm it ourselves, I feel like we should just contract with local farmers that are already renting our land and work out some type of profit deal, whether that be, 80-20, 70-30, and we'll still be getting profits like that on top of rent, be it reduced if they agree to that type of contract.
Right.
And then my next idea for economic development that we could jump into is campgrounds. We have beautiful land, and we can always, find some pieces of land where we can put in campgrounds, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with Summit, but they have a campground. That thing is full year round, and I don't know what's in Summit really, but they go there. And I feel like that's something that we can utilize and we can do business. And, by Enemy Swim, there's the corner bar, Dana Beneke. I talked to him, and I'm just asking, how full are you? What do your books usually run? Him and I are friends, so he was okay with discussing this with me. And he's like, I have to turn people away. And if he's turning people away, why can't we pick that up? Even as Enemy Swim or any district, I feel like as part of economic development, we can have every district have some form of campground or anything like that, and then that'll be their way of generating income. You, we build it for the district, let that district operate it, and then that's income that come into all districts, really.
Right. Well, it's a different idea. I've not heard that. And I should let you know that some of the ideas that we've been, or that I've heard doing some of these interviews were like wind farms, solar farms, jails. Somebody had suggested jails. The jail came in on an idea going back to the question about the Dakota crossings. So, but still, it was an economic development idea. So,
Okay. Yeah,
yeah,
and renewable energy is a great source of income, but to my understanding, that Ottertail, the company that usually operates over for a majority of the tribe, does not like to budge on the excess energy price, and so that was something that I wanted get into, but at the same time, we'll have 2 years to come up with something. We want to generate income as much as possible because this
right.
COVID isn't going to wait for 2 years for anything to happen. It's here, and it could shut down our casinos again, and we might be hurting. So I do like the idea of renewable energy, especially the wind farms. That was something that I thought of early on too, but
Yeah.
I'm looking for the path of least resistance, and then when we get everything that's easy going, then we can tackle the big boys, and then we can bring it all in.
Right. No, that's understandable. All right. Thank you. Let's see. Next question. One of the biggest issues coming up in this fall's election will be our decline in revenues from our 3 casinos due to the pandemic crisis. In light of declining revenues, what programs or projects need to be reduced or replaced? How will you make a significant difference from other candidates running against you? I'm not
I'm
sure if
sorry,
that
what was
second.
that?
I'm not sure if that last part is a second question, but let's just tackle the first one about reduced revenues and how we deal with those. Do we reduce services or do we reduce entitlements? I mean, what do we do?
So with that, I've been thinking. Right now, with casino revenues being rough, I do like that the fact that they have tampered or not tampered, but reduced their hours so that they're not open 24 hours anymore. Because sometimes that graveyard shift is there's only like 3 or 4 people on the floor, and so that's a good way to reduce personnel cost. And so I like what they're doing there. And stay open late on the weekends or when you get a concert going on, that's perfect too. Now, when it comes to program support and other gaming funding areas, I really think that a needs assessment needs to be done. You need to go through all the programs and see what is their need. What's the amount that you can trim without effectively hurting and or damaging that program. And I've been talking to that with some other council candidates, and it's something that I feel like is necessary. Because if you do not do that, then you're potentially cutting off an arm of a program that could be essential to our people, and nobody wants to hurt our people.
Right. Yeah. So it's about making priorities, huh? And upon discovery.
Well, I mean, we all know that some priorities already exist, like mental health and day treatment,
Okay.
and alcohol and substance abuse. Those are priorities, and so I really don't think you should take any money away from those type of programs in general, because our people are hurting and they've been hurting, and I don't think that's the way to do it. Questions about like I can't think of a pure example right now, but when you're laying it all down on a spreadsheet, it'll pop up. You bring in the program manager, you talk them out. What do you guys do? How have you been doing? Can you operate effectively during COVID? Are you going to be drastically hurt if we reduce your funds X amount? And I think that's the way to go about it. You got to communicate with the program director, go back and forth, and it's a mini negotiation, because at the same time, if you cut too many jobs, you're going to be putting more people in harm's way also.
I think one of the things we've seen during these times was well, for a short time there was an elimination of the elderly monies, wasn't there?
Yes,
And then it came back.
Yep, and then that's tied to my understanding. That's tied to the Gaming Pot Compact or North Dakota, and so that was tied directly to the Magic. And so when the Magic broke down for a time there due to COVID, I thought it was interesting that the casinos at the time were only operating on a 1 to 2 month budget as opposed to even a quarterly or even a yearly budget. And so that right there popped up as a red flag to me because I was like, why are these casinos only budgeting month to month? And I was like, if we're squeezing the golden goose too much here, it's going to damage us in the long run. And so with the gaming compact, and that revenue had to start going to, I believe the elderly were involved in that gaming compact. And then I was worried, is this going to affect our gaming compact in North Dakota if we stop these cards going out to our elderly because they need support too? My Kushi, she depends on that card. She loves that card. She supports our store. She has no qualms about going to Dakota Crossing and getting everything that she needs. And, without that there, granted, if she were to somehow lose access to that card and if that gaming compact was renegotiated, that's another part where I feel like, we have to step up as individuals to take care of our family and those in need. And so I would do, I would do anything to help out my grandmother. I mean, because that's just what I'll do because I love her and I'm willing to do that. And then for those who do not have family to take care of them, I saw somewhere, I can't remember where I seen it, adopt an elder program. I love that idea. I think that's something that we should totally look into because, and that goes back to building a stronger community. And with the stronger community, we'll rise as a tribe.
Right. Later this year, Dallas, I'll be an elder. So,
oh,
so if you want to adopt me,
look like baby elder.
If you want to adopt me, go ahead. All right. Next question. Let's see. Do you have any issues that you would like to work on as a tribal council person? That kind of goes back to the economic development part too, but is there anything else that you'd like to work on maybe?
I have 3 priorities lined up that I thought long and hard on. Number 1, economic development. We touched on that. And then number 2, higher education. And then number 3 was behavioral health and substance abuse along with day treatment. Those are my 3 priorities that I have, and I'm looking to do anything and everything I can to ensure that those priorities, are brought into the light and we can do something about it. So I'll touch up on a bit on higher education. So when I came back to the tribe, everyone was telling me, you're not from here, you haven't been here, you haven't established yourself, no one's going to hire you for a program because nobody knows who you are. It doesn't matter what kind of education you have. I was like, I feel like with
that's not right.
Bachelor's. I'm sorry, what was that?
That's not right, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, but I thought about it and, people were telling me, and I don't even bother. And I was like, I have faith in the personnel committee. I feel like they will see that they have a good candidate sit in front of them. They will do their job. So thankfully that happened and I managed to land my job working in behavioral health as the administrative assistant. And so then that's where I really started to get into behavioral health. But going back to higher education, we need to invest more in higher education and bring those people back to the tribe, because education tied with work experience creates a efficient machine that will just keep going for generations. And if we can just get going on that road, just the road will just be so beautiful. Everything will be grand. I can just see it already. And in order to do that, one of the things I thought about was maybe if once that pay cut comes about, they'll bring about maybe $95,000. I'm not talking about full rides, but we had the assistant in Watson College sitting in Agency Village, and why don't we partner with them and we work something out and we can pay for individuals' education and something that is in high demand. So whether that be social work or teachers or even business degrees, things that can be utilized in a tribe to the maximum extent. Pay for that 2-year degree, then you can contract with that individual and have them work off that degree, let's say 3 or 4 years in any job really, as long as they're working for the tribe, because you can't guarantee any position, as that's just how the world operates. And so I feel like by investing in our people, we invest in our future. And so finally hitting on behavioral health and day treatment and substance abuse. You know, our tribe has been under siege by intergenerational trauma for so long, for so many decades. And, it's very apparent and it shows its face as mental health, substance abuse, and depression and domestic violence. It's just showing up left and right. And I feel like this issue should have been addressed long ago. But here we are in 2020 trying to fix this. And, the intergenerational trauma has been affecting us for so long that, we need to do something about it and we need to do something about it quick. And so whether that be grants or going to IHS and asking for modules, and I know they're starting to build that COVID building that's going to be turned into a substance abuse treatment center down the road, but that's down the road. And truly, do we know when COVID's going to end? We can't. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I can't guess that at all. And that's where I feel like we need to start investing in our future right now. So I went to a seminar and it was headed by Dr. Tonema, and he's from a tribe out in Michigan. And he said, if you want to change the fruit, you have to change the root. And, that's a saying that just sticks out with me constantly, because if we change the root of our problems, the fruit that we'll bring is prosperity. And I feel like once we become a more prosperous tribe, we'll be stronger. Generally, everyone will be happier. And as long as we remain, faithful to each other and be strong, we can overcome anything. That's in our blood. That's resiliency. And then that's what I want to tackle.
Nice. Good. I sit on a board here in San Francisco for a Native American organization, and I noticed one of the members on the board is from a tribe in the South. It's like Georgia or something like that, and I forgot the name of his tribe. And they 100% financed his undergraduate degree, and then they financed half of anything postgraduate. So, and he went on to get a PhD. He's actually in the middle of his PhD right now. Not the middle. I'm sorry. He's at the tail end of it. So, just writing his paper. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting idea. So, you finance the undergraduate, and then any postgraduate, they financed half of it, 50%. So it's kind of interesting.
It's really exciting here, because then that means that's a blueprint that I could possibly find down the road that, whoever wins with council. Whether I win or not, I think that's something I still want to invest in our community. And so, yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because now I know that other people are doing it.
Right. The other, of course, thing is that not everybody has to go to college, but there are some very important vocational career opportunities that are very important that tribes need as well, especially electrician school, mechanic, stuff like that, and that are in some cases very lucrative as well. And so, we probably want to keep those in mind as well.
Of course, and then that goes back to tying with skills and experience.
Right.
And so that's where I might have forgotten to mention skills, but yeah, I definitely meant vocational in that. And even now, vocational is technically the way to go, as I've learned after graduating with my mighty $65,000 debt. I was like, maybe vocational might have been a good way to go.
Yeah, I did read a story about an electrical engineer who once the pandemic came, he was laid off. And so he realized, as soon as he got laid off, that what you realized is the way to go was to have something to fall back onto. So he entered electrician school, because he already had the electrical engineering degree. So he went and became an electrician, a certified electrician here in the state of California. And that way he could keep working, because they're still working during the pandemic, but electrical engineers not working during the pandemic. It's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah. And that's something I'm totally glad to hear success stories like that, because then, you can go both ways. That's the wonderful beauty that, you can go both ways with education.
Right. All right. Okay. Next question. Here we go. How do you view the purpose and function of tribal council? Is it a legislative or administrative body? Explain.
I believe that council is strictly legislative. Everything is done through legislative body. The administration part, once you try to get into that, you're on a slippery slope once someone hears that you try to help somebody out on someone else's issues by bypassing an executive and getting into their program, everyone's going to keep coming to you, and you're undermining the executive's authority by doing so. And that just creates a bigger mess overall. And so I believe that, legislative.
Legislative, very good. Very good. But I thought we did have a candidate who said that there is some oversight of programs that the council does do. Is that correct?
Yeah, I heard that there are some that answer directly to council,
Right.
but to some extent too, though, it's just something that you need to be careful about, because you do handle all the budgets. You got to approve the budgets on where the money is going,
Right.
and that that's on council. And then, but yeah, there is some overlap, but it's very, very. You just gotta be careful not to jump into that administrative business, because then you're gonna get your hands full, and that's just going to create disunity among the executives of council. And when you have disunity like that, nothing will ever get done. And that's something we don't need.
Right. All right. Very good. Let's see. Next question. Have you read the duties and responsibilities of the council that is in the early legislative policy? Do you agree with what is written? Why or why not? Are you in favor of a written document that spells out the duties of the tribal council?
I feel like a written document will definitely help. And then as the duties of council, I mean, I believe it's a little broad. And then if you wanted to put a fine point to it, you definitely can. But I generally feel like, when you're looking at it through the Constitution and everything like that, your duties are spelled out to you, and you need to adhere to them. And if you decide not to, then I believe it's up to your district to hold you accountable.
Okay. All right. So the next question, are you in favor of the current way that tribal council and executives are suspended and removed from office? Explain. How would you make it a more fair, complete, and factual process?
So if we're going to be doing, right now, the current way of doing it, I feel like you can get removed if you aggravate too many people on council, which, that isn't exactly fair to you. But if we were to make it more fair, I heard someone say that, you could bring in, a third party judge that isn't affiliated with the tribe, or isn't affiliated with the tribe directly, and they can overhear and listen to all the evidence and everything like that. And then while it's not breaking the law, like, because you do have an ethics issue, so maybe you jump onto an ethics board, that will definitely help out with that too. But once you get all that together, I feel like if you have like a judge or someone who's more knowledgeable that doesn't have direct ties with the tribe, then you can get a fair proceeding per se. And then with the ethics board, if you're going to hold everyone, you got to keep everyone accountable. That's accountability. If you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, and you're going to go after someone that's doing the same thing, double standard is too real, and you just don't need to do that. So I guess overall, to say that, you get a judge to overhear what's going on, you have your proceeding, have the hearing, go from there, and then let the judge, this third party judge, decide.
So you're not in favor of how it's currently done?
Not necessarily. I can't, I can see both sides of it, because just the way it's currently done, there can be loopholes to be done. But when I'm looking at it, to me, it just seems like nothing is perfect. Everything can be improved. So I really think it just needs to be improved.
Okay, improved. All right, nice. All right, next question. Regarding the tribal constitution, are you in favor of how it is written, or do you think it should be amended, and to say what?
Well, the Constitution is decided by individuals like you and me, anyone who's willing to take time and make an amendment, make a new change. And so it really comes down to just the individual and whether or not you're willing to put that forward, because then that's decided by 30% of the tribal voters. So as long as you meet that quorum of 30%, the Constitution can change.
We don't, right?
What?
Meet the quorum.
Yo, I understand. I sit on the constitutional board, and we were just discussing that. So we're hoping that all you off-reservation folks come back, and then we can get more voters, meet our quorum, because there is a lot of good constitutional changes going on there right now, and it's really nice to look at them. for all, actually anyone, if anyone
Right.
wants to see what the constitutional changes are, they're going to be put it out in the Shota. Otherwise, you can just send me a Facebook message and I can put them in a file for you. You can take a peek at them. But quorum is very important to me. So because it's up to the people to decide where the change begins and how it's going
You
to go about.
employ the mail-in ballot for off-res people, and you'll get your quorum,
Yeah, for sure.
right?
And that's true. But with them, I'm glad you
8,000
brought
of
up
us.
mail-in ballot again because I did forget to mention something earlier.
Oh,
I
sure. Go
feel
ahead.
like with the policy, with mail-in ballots, it should be you just have someone have it notarized with your witness, and then you can send your ballot in. Because I was looking into a notary, I didn't know that there's so many people that could be a notary, and in most cases it's free. So you get a notarized ballot. I, that's the gold. I feel like there should be no reason to turn that down. But to do that, again, you got to convince the people at the district level to go forward with that. And you know, a lot of times it's just a misunderstanding. It's communication. You got to communicate what's going to be done, and then you know it's not going to be. Excuse me. You got to communicate that this needs to, why this is going to be beneficial to the tribe as a whole, and you have to make sure you have standards and procedures with mail-in ballots.
Yeah. Just to let you know, here in California, when you have your ballot, you just mark off what you want to mark off and then throw it in the mail. There is no notary involved.
Yeah, I threw in the notary thing because you know a lot of people feel like, oh, what if they're double voting or whatever. You know, a
Mm.
notary, easy fix to that, and you have X amount of days to send in your mail-in ballot, and so you know, again, it's one of those things where you have to sit down and you have to just hash out, you know, policy and procedure, and then once you have that done, if it needs to be improved, you improve it, and you'll have it.
Okay. All right. Let's see. I think we might be at the end here. Yeah, we are. We're at the end. Isn't it nice? Okay, so now there's time for you to, make a little speech if you want to wrap up your candidacy for people to go back and look at. Because this video is being recorded, and then Shannon does in fact put it on the website on the Facebook page, as well as she has a YouTube channel as well, so it goes on the YouTube channel as well, and that's where a lot of majority of people watch it, those who can't be here with us right now. So please feel free to say what you want to at this point.
Well, I guess I have observed and consulted with like various members of the enemy swim district and the needs of our community. And I know I touched upon the three aspects I would like to bring to the forefront and make a change on. And going back to the economy, we absolutely need the economic development. With the closure of casinos, it really portrayed just how weak our economy can be and just how fragile our economic system really is. And if that's that fragile and if it breaks, what happens then? We don't want to go there. And then, frankly, we got to stop relying on the government for money. I know that a lot of people say as a treaty tribe, it's owed to us, but, they broke those treaties. So why are we expecting them to uphold their agreements on this money? I mean, if you look, some of that COVID money is being withheld from needy tribes. You can look at the Navajo Nation. They're getting some of it, but they're still struggling. And so I feel like the best way to secure our sovereignty is to make sure we have excellent economic development. And then we exercise that sovereignty and we push and push and push that we can self-sustain ourselves. And that is the way I feel like will lead us to a good path. Now, back to higher education, like I was saying, I'm glad that Jim mentioned skills from vocational schools because honestly, if I had to go another way, I probably would have been a welder because I thought welding looks fun and easy, and apparently they make a lot of money. So, any welders out there, let me know how that works. And then for behavioral health and substance abuse treatment being another priority, working in behavioral health and donating my time for taking the tribe's crisis line. It can be so hard sometimes to hear the struggles that our people go through. And it's just one of those things where that's where we have to reach in and look at our humanity and just say, do we want to like put behavioral health and substance abuse treatment on the side, and we can advocate for it, and we can do something about it, or are you just going to say that you'll support it, but then as your term comes to an end and there still isn't anything being done about it? I really just think that this is something that should be in the forefront. It needs to be done. Our people are suffering, and that needs to end. And so, no matter on the outcome of the election, I will continue to support my community, whether that be Enemy Swim District or the tribe at large. I came back to this tribe and to my home to do the best I can with what I got, and because when I get older and my kids grow up, I want them to be proud to be Dakota and members of the Sissinuaptan Oyate and of the Enemy Swim District. So I guess thank you all for tuning in and throwing in extra questions and being here with us.
So Dallas, I've had two members who've died of alcoholism in my family. One of them was my birth mother. I was adopted out at a very young age, but one of them was my birth mother, who I found out died in the 80s, the mid 80s, from her alcoholism. And then just recently, I have a couple years ago, my twin brother died of alcoholism. So I like your stance on the substance abuse issues, behavior, substance abuse issues.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. And then I was going to say something about, what was the other part that you said?
In regards to substance abuse, or
no, the other part, I can't
higher
remember.
education and economic development.
Right, and then higher education, I certainly like that as well. But I was going to say one more thing, and I can't remember what it was. I should have wrote it down. I have a little pad where I write things down. I forgot to do that. I forgot to write it. But
that's okay. If he ever comes back, I am part of the off reservation group. You just throw it in the comments. And
oh, you're in there.
Yep.
Okay, because you were, I guess, at one time, right? Yeah.
And
good.
so, and then actually, just to keep going on that one, majority of my family live off reservation.
Right.
Like I maybe have like a handful that live on reservation. So I definitely understand the issues at hand.
Right. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, taking time out of your evening to do that. So are you going to have dinner now?
Well, actually, funny that you say that. My twins, being the little helpers they are, I didn't want them coming in and helping me. And so I sent my wife off with them to go get Taco John's. So we'll see what kind of surprise we get.
Okay, tacos, right? Taco Thursday again.
Yeah, there you go. But
all right,
again for doing this, Jim. I really do appreciate it.
All right, it was nice meeting you as well.
Yeah, you too. You have a good one.
All right, take care.